Okay, so in theory, it should work now. So welcome everyone. It's a big pleasure today to have you all here. So as you can see, we are in Omišalje. So it's been a long way from Austria to wonderful, beautiful Croatia. And as you know, SILKROAD is the place where you leave your own comfort zone. And I really want to thank our wonderful co-host here for inviting us to this beautiful place. So we are not here in Zagreb as we were originally attending, but we're here close to a chapel, as you can actually see here on the left side. It's from the 14th century. You can see here the beautiful tower here in the background. And what I'm trying to do, actually, I'm not sure if this really works. No, it's unfortunately, it's not possible because I would like to show you exactly this. This is this beautiful view that we're having here. And I slightly move my camera to the beautiful part of this beautiful city of Omišalje, where we are currently located. And so here in the, I'm just trying to point where we are sitting in the shade to have this wonderful discussion. And I will now mute myself and stop my video because I would like to hand over to our co-host who is also welcoming us, and then I will be back in a second and see you there. So please, Kosjenka, it's all yours.
Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased and honored that I have such a group of speakers here with me. My name is Kosjenka Dumančić. I'm the Vice Dean for International Cooperation and Projects at the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Zagreb. I'm also Director of the Institute of Euro-Asian Studies. And I was really pleased when Professor Mija Mikić made the connection between Philip, Donald, Harvey, and myself in order to host this event. I was thinking and planning to organize this in Zagreb at our institute, but then I decided to host it here in this wonderful place at the Croatian coast at the island of Krk, Omišalje. So it's a town full of history and, as Philip said, also full of future. I hope industrial future, not 5.0 in industry, but more 4.1 industry. But anyhow, so please enjoy the evening. And I'm giving the floor to Donald. So Donald, please give us a few words.
Well, thank you very much, Kosjenka. I mean, it's just wonderful for all of us to be in Croatia for this the Silk Road 4.0 event. I just wanted to express collectively our gratitude to Dr. Mija Mikić, who cannot be with us today. She's actually in New Zealand, for being what we would call a Silk Road bridge builder in connecting Silk Road 4.0 with the University of Zagreb for this Croatian event, and doing so, providing a perfect example of people-to-people connectivity, which is the subject matter of today's event. Dr. Mija Mikić, just by way of very brief background, has long-standing relations with the University of Zagreb and is the former director of the Trade, Investment, and Innovation Division of UNSCAP in Bangkok, and is currently an advisor at large for ArtNet, the Asia Pacific Research and Training Network, as well as a visiting fellow at the Institute of Euro-Asia Studies, which is headed up by Kosjenka at the University of Zagreb. So we all want to express a big thank you to Mija for connecting us. Kosjenka, back to you.
Thank you. Lovely. Thank you so much, Don. So sorry for this confusion at the very beginning. As you see, the technicalities with YouTube streaming on the mobile is a little bit more challenging than expected. But anyway, I would like to share a couple of slides because there will be always the same question. How does it come that the name is actually SILKROAD 4.0? And for those people who are coming late, I just want to show three slides here about Silk Road for CEO, how everything started. So the whole initiative started in 2016. It was actually more a technical research project. It was about what happens if you take modern technology to an extreme and leave your own comfort zone. And in 2016, actually, we equipped a very old sidecar with a couple of IoT, Internet of Things devices. And you can see here my beloved old sidecar. I was traveling around for 2 months in Europe. And after that, the question came up, so what happens if you really leave your own comfort zone? And if you take a modern motorcycle, not a 25-year-old one, and if you go all the way from Austria along the Silk Road up to China, having cutting-edge technology on board. And it was a 6-month trip, amazing, with amazing people that I was honored to meet. And also I met Harvey actually during this trip then back in China. And out of this, the idea came, what happens if you jointly travel the world, exploring the knowledge of everyday's life. So this modern form of traveling together started in September 2020 in the midst of a pandemic. And at the very beginning, everyone said, Philip, you're crazy. I mean, you're taking some friends with you, traveling the world in the midst of a pandemic. But here we are now in Croatia, and our mission, our passion is still the same. So we want to connect people. We want to connect emerging technologies across nations. So research, building bridges all over the world. And without further ado, I just want to quickly show you the route that's up on our planning. So after Zagreb, we go to Budapest, to Sofia, Athens, Ankara, Moscow, Nur Sultan, Beijing in February 2022. So there's still quite a long distance ahead. But I don't want to spend too much time about the past of what has happened. I would like to focus more on today's wonderful event with so many inspiring people. So today is the topic people-to-people connectivity and history. And I would like to introduce two wonderful people who have been jointly traveling together here for quite a while. Professor Donald Lewis, you have already met. He is located in California. He will moderate the online part. Here on site with me is Dr. Harvey Zodin, who will take over the, so to say, offline part, so the in Croatia part. And we do have a couple of minutes, not that many minutes, but at the very end, we have a couple of minutes for a panel discussion. And if you want to join, you can use your mobile phone, make a picture of this barcode, or you can go to slido.com and then enter 40563, and then you should be able to ask a question there if you want. So I stopped talking, I stopped gossiping, so to say, and then I hand over to Harvey, who will kindly introduce the upcoming speakers. And Harvey, it's all yours.
Okay, well, I'm going to introduce a few speakers. But first I want to say that it's a great pleasure to be in Croatia after drinking too much wonderful Croatian wine and seeing too many beautiful pictures of a beautiful country. And those pictures didn't do it justice. That it's an incredible place, and I hope people who are tuning in can come here one day. This is my first time, and really it's a pleasure to be here. So first off, we have a friend of mine, and now it's going to be a friend of all of us, Professor Ante Simonic, who's former ambassador from Croatia to China, former vice prime minister of the country, and I met him years ago, and I knew I would always like him because he went to medical school in my state of Michigan. And so he's a great guy. And actually, you know, all ambassadors are salesmen, and he's a super salesman. Now a former ambassador, but still a super salesman, as I'm sure you're going to hear in a moment. So Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Harvey. It's so good to have you as a friend, but you are so biased. Thank you. Thank you, organizers. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Kosjenka. It's such a great pleasure and honor to be in such a great company, to meet old friends and to make new ones. Welcome to Croatia. We are not in Istra. We are not on the island of Krk. It's like a triangle. We are 100 kilometers far in Croatia, in highlands. So I hope tomorrow or the day after, Philip and Harvey and I don't know, and some other friends will come to our place. But I promise we will not bother you with the new program on Zoom. So allow me couple of words. New world order is emerging. Dramatic changes on the global scale we are faced with, we witness them because so many people are unsatisfied how they live. From before we were talking about climate problems, climate changes, there are so many ecological problems. The distribution of power is wrong, distribution of economic power. There is enough food, water, money on the global level, but distribution is wrong. So there are a lot of conflicts, and we know a lot about them. Problem with terrorism, problem with coronavirus, how we react, selfish, not selfish, who is doing what, where it started, who did something wrong, and so on. Usually we blame the other people, not joining hands and doing something together. So these meetings like this one is just opposite. We want to help world to be better. And we are aware that speed of changes is fantastic. And even the speed is increasing. Today, about each 5 years, total knowledge that the humankind double. All what we get from the beginning of humankind up till now, in 4 years, will double. So a lot of things will become obsolete, no matter we are talking about airplanes or medicines or how we build ships or houses, new technologies, dramatic changes, problems with education, how to prepare everybody for the new world and to help people not to be afraid of the new world. The easiest way to predict the new world is to create a new world. So we are here to help how to this world be better. And we know, I think all we here agree that China is driving force of the new world, or Pacific area, and China is the main player. But there is only one superpower, is US. China will say about their country that they are developing country, poor country, and so on. So depending, we are talking about aggregate GDP or per capita, and so on and so on. You are experts in all these fields. I will not go in details. But there is no one important issue on the global scale that can be solved without China. So China is a great player. And China will be even stronger. Will we be against or not? China is becoming stronger and more influential. So it's, even from practical point of view, very good to analyze the situation and help to do everything that we can diminish frictions among countries, systems, companies. Why is China so powerful, so important? Because we can analyze the past of China, what China is today, and we can try to predict what China is going to be. China, the only one civilization, 5,000 years in the continuity, the only one in the world, 5,000 years. They invented compass, printing system, silk, gunpowder, acupuncture. Let's talk about philosophy, about Lao Tzu, Confucius, or about poetry, Li Bai. There are so great names or great books. Yi Ching, Book of Changes, or Yellow Emperor, Canon of Medicine, Tao Te Ching, or Art of War, in so many areas. Fantastic. What they did during all these thousands of years and what they are now. Permanent member of the Security Council, nuclear power, they have very developed space program and so many other programs, population of 1,420% of the population, the largest car producer in the world, about 30 million, electric cars, bullet trains, or the best highway system in the world. Yesterday, they finished the first phase of huge bridge in Croatia, Pelješac Bridge, 2 and 4 kilometers. Fantastic what they did. It was a huge celebration in Croatia. #1 shipbuilding system in the world. #1 emission zone in tourism. They have about 2,000 universities or something similar, like universities. Some of them are excellent, like Tsinghua University and Peking University. They were, a couple of years ago, they were about number 40 in the world, 41, 37. Now they are among 20 the best. Take a look the list of new patents in the world or first-class scientific papers, what China is doing. More than 7 million students per year graduate in China. They have about 120,000 students in US. So they know everything about us. They have a lot in UK and so on and so on. But do people in Europe, we are talking about Europe relations mainly, or in US, in Western countries, understand what China is? Mostly people see China as a threat. My point is China is a chance, new chance for the humankind, because it has the capacity. It has a couple of trillions of US dollars reserves in banks. Largest banks, Lenovo is #1 PC producer in the world. We heard so much about some other companies, Huawei, TCM, and ZTE, and so on and so on. Everything is huge. 2 years ago, first time among Fortune 500, China had more than 130 companies, overpassed US. Is, from my point of view, second military force in the world. And depending what we calculate, but military technology is about 10 years behind us. So we can talk about success in treating COVID and even developing new medicines. So this is China. But we usually, people see China only as a quantity. Everything is huge. Chongqing, more than 40 million. Beijing, #3. Shanghai, #2 cities. Everything at 30 millions or more. They have 160 cities larger than 1 million. But I would like to emphasize behind all of this is another quality that we do not understand. It's not Aristotle logics that binary system, there is mu or me possibility. This is the chance for the world to bring something new because civilization is in crisis. But no one country is an island. Even powerful China needs help people that will help other people to understand what China is not a threat. But if we will behave wrong, we will have conflicts and all we will be losers. Of course, China has to follow international orders, way how to communicate, how to do business and so on. But everything is also changing. China and Europe, if we are talking, are now in trading the largest partners. So China is the largest trading partner of European Union and vice versa. Today you will talk about history, about culture. May I feel it just one point to emphasize. I would like, if the time will allow, next time on another occasion, to talk about traditional Chinese medicine. TCM as the symbol of culture of China. Thousands of years experience and very efficient. And some of it is becoming part of our, let's say, Western medical system. So I would like to develop the system that evidence-based medicine based on scientific evidence will not be in conflict, in fight with TCM. Just we have to find a way how to harmonize this, because scientific science, bioscience, I am university professor in medicine, so it's my area. No one is satisfied with the healthcare system. Now it almost collapsed with Corona, but there are so many other problems. It's becoming too expensive, too technically oriented. There are new diseases that antibiotics cannot work, and so on and so on. So we are looking for more individualized medicine and to combine, to harmonize, to work together traditional medicine, not only Chinese, but acupuncture, for example, is most famous, most developed part of traditional medicine in the world. So this is something China can help. The traditional Chinese medicine shows how to deal, how to work together in balance with universe, balance with other people, balance in our body between mental body and physical body. So there are so many areas that we can learn from China or that we can combine, but the last message is we have to work together, and China has so many ideas, so many qualitatively different elements that can reach the humankind, particularly in the moment when humankind is in crisis. Thank you very much.
I'm going to thank you, Ambassador. I'm going to exercise the power of a moderator, and I'm going to hold your question until after the next speaker and until after your wife speaks, because you're both a power couple in Croatia, and I am going to ask the same question of each of you. So is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, we're going to. So stand by. So we have another speaker now, and this speaker is pre-recorded because he couldn't be here at this time. But in terms of the people-to-people connectivity, he's an expert on that because tourism connects people. And he's with the United Nations, and he's with the World Tourism Organization of the UN. And he's Patrick Fritz. So here he is by recording.
So the topic of his talk is tourism, a catalyst for sustainable development, prosperity and peace along the historic routes. And I'm just starting his presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, my name is Patrick Fritz and I'm the Technical Coordinator at the World Tourism Organization's Technical Cooperation and SILKROAD Department. Before anything else, I would like to thank the organizers, especially Mr. Reinisch and my fellow panelists for allowing me to intervene at this very interesting event. Unfortunately, I cannot join you live. However, the organizers generously allowed me to submit a video message that I intend to keep as brief as possible, so as not to take too much time away from what will surely be a very stimulating and positive exchange. My main message hereby is the following. Tourism must be seen as a catalyst for peaceful and sustainable development, prosperity and peace along the historic Silk Road routes. And yet, before I move into details, please allow me to briefly outline the context by outlining some key tourism figures. Global tourism suffered its worst year on record in 2020, with international arrivals dropping by 74%. Destinations welcomed 1 billion fewer international arrivals, which translated into an approximate loss of $1.3 trillion in export revenues. That is more than 11 times the loss recorded during the 2008-2009 global financial crisis, directly threatening hereby between 100 and 120 million tourism jobs. Regrettably, this downward trend continued in 2021, with international tourist arrivals dropping by a further 83% during the first quarter of the year. While a return to pre-COVID-19 levels cannot be realistically expected before 2022, various developments make us optimistic. For one, vaccination programs are slowly gaining speed, whereby global equity is key. Secondly, domestic tourism has proven its strength and resilience in many countries. Thirdly, with time we have also gained knowledge and resourcefulness as to how to handle and mitigate COVID-19 propagation. From the start, UNWTO was clear in its message. The containment of the pandemic at whatever cost is fundamental. However, this must not necessarily mean national self-isolation. Cooperation, be it in investigation or the development of common health and safety protocols, has allowed us to continue operating, albeit limited by what is so-called the new normal. The Tokyo Summer Olympics and the upcoming 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics are two good examples hereof. While true that we are far away from what a normal Olympic celebration usually entails, with advance in vaccination programs and the implementation of intelligent measures aimed at limiting the impact of COVID-19 is allowing us to move forward, not only in terms of economic recovery, but also in regard to the very humane need for respite and interaction. As the UNWTO, what has been our role? Well, as the leading organization in the field of tourism, our initial aim was to ensure that communication channels among our members and stakeholders from the public and private sector remained open. Looking back, we were confronted with a lot of uncertainty. Hence, information exchange and the maintenance of trust proved essential. This was followed by efforts to quantify as far as possible the impact of COVID-19 on tourism. Tourism dashboards and a move towards digitalization, together with our traditional statistical tools, have proven helpful in gaining insight as to pandemic impact and recovery needs. Furthermore, aligned with other UN agencies and international donor organizations, we have been working to channel much needed funding and expertise. In May 2020, we launched our COVID-19 Tourism Recovery Technical Assistance Package. Containing a diverse range of technical assistance activities, the document has proven essential mention. Tourism's role in making our world a better place. Despite being one of the sectors that most deeply affected by the impact of COVID-19, tourism remains an economic powerhouse. As already hinted at, tourism is a sector with many ramifications across the economy. Expenditure by visitors on accommodation, food and drink, local transport, entertainment and shopping make it an interesting sector for countries to invest in due to its long-term economic return and multiplier effect on the economy. A further major asset of tourism is that it is one of the few economic sectors in which the service or good is usually consumed at the production site, thus allowing locals to reap potential benefits. Well-planned, regulated and responsible tourism can thus be an excellent mechanism to channel resources and favor local ownership and participation. Moreover, tourists typically not only demand high-quality standards, but also create demand for products and services that may not otherwise exist within a local market. Whilst adapting may prove challenging in the short term, it may also lead to growth and improvement through diversification and specialization. And finally, when talking about global numbers and overarching strategies, we tend to forget how personal and interlinked the tourism sector really is. It is a sector that is built on exchange and human interaction, which furthermore depends on safety and trust in order to flourish. As a Silk Road platform, please allow me to use the historic roots as an example. Silk Road countries are bearers of unique heritage and a shared past, from which not only a powerful, innovative, and highly adaptable tourism concept can emerge, but also the cement that is to bring countries together. Identifying common traits, despite the many challenges that may emerge, is vital if we are to install a culture of peace and cooperation. Acknowledging a common past will help us understand that we share a common destiny, thus making violence appear as what it mostly is, that is, nonsensical at best. In raising awareness and breaking down barriers, tourism plays a leading role, and such potential is further fueled by an increase in connectivity and the recognition of the strategic importance of the region, observable in multiple development plans, institutions, and financial opportunities. And yet, many hurdles remain before the original dream of a seamless Silk Road travel experience can be realized. Please allow me to quickly outline a few. The regional integration, for example, of national transport infrastructure and services needs to be increased in order to enable tourism. FDI flows by region and country are also unevenly distributed, with certain countries facing difficulties in attracting investments. Similarly, in terms of trade, performances are unbalanced and limited by national borders. Despite strong investment efforts over the last 20 years, Central Asia, for example, still lags behind other world regions in terms of infrastructure development and maintenance. To exemplify, according to the World Bank, shipping a container from any of the Central Asian countries to Shanghai still remains 5 times more expensive than, for example, from Poland or Turkey. And it goes without saying that not only globally operating companies suffer from a lack of harmonized standards, transnational connectivity and governance, the competitiveness of entire economy suffers, as local producers and service providers also need to shoulder high operating costs. And yet, despite all these shortcomings and needs, no other region currently benefits from as much attention as the countries along the Silk Road. While large-scale investments in connectivity provide a foundation for regional development, so-called soft policy areas as tourism ensure long-term justification and benefits through people-to-people and business exchange. Therefore, when implementing or studying large investments within the region, stakeholders need to be aware of the cross-cutting edge of tourism development. Ultimately, a crisis inevitably exposes systemic weaknesses, something inherent to both developing and developed countries. So one of my main messages before I finish is to utilize available resources wisely. For one, institutions are necessary, but well-functioning institutions even more so. Collaboration clearly outperforms competition, especially during a crisis. And finally, what counts are people, their initiative and resourcefulness. Only tourism embedded within a local context will flourish and appeal to the visitor and host alike. So intangible values such as trust, confidence, goodwill, and a sound work ethic must guide initiatives within and between countries. Well, dear friends, to conclude, I would like to apologize once again for not being with you today in what will surely be a stimulating panel discussion. And nevertheless, I am very grateful to the organizers for the opportunity to intervene. I remain available at pfritz@unwto.org should you have any questions or ideas on how to cooperate. Thank you once again, and well, I wish you all the best. Take care from Madrid. Goodbye.
Lovely. Thank you very much. This was Patrick Fritz from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Just a small technicality. I will make Amy the host, just because I think we're running low on battery here on our side. But I don't want to interfere. Harvey, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I'm not running low on batteries, not yet. Anyway, although it's been a lovely and long day. Patrick made clear that some of the challenges faced in these very challenging times. Our next speaker is the other half of the dynamic duo couple. And I've known her for many, many years. And she's well regarded in China and the world as a journalist and host of the CCTV program called His China. And she's also a major figure in the scuba diving world. And so she's a woman of many talents, as is her husband, a man of many talents. So she's going to be speaking to us today on sports diplomacy and how recreational or comparative sports impact people and culture. And after you speak, Rita, I'll have one question that you'll share with your husband, and I hope that you'll both give us a joint answer. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Harvey. And Professor Simonic had to go for a urgent matter, so I'm sitting here at his desk. All right, Dobar dan, good afternoon. Humbled and privileged, I'm very thankful for the opportunity to meet with you all today online and for sharing this precious moment. Here are a few questions for you. Do you know China started to play football since 2,400 years ago, and it's called 蹴鞠? And do you know about the elegant 太极拳? Are you familiar with the Chinese folk music instrument such as pipa? It is one of the main Chinese instruments, but not originally from China. It is from the regions of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, along the Silk Roads in Tang Dynasty. If you paid close attention to the 2008 Beijing Olympics opening ceremony, you would have seen lots of elements regarding these questions. Now, Beijing Olympics attracted attentions of the world, and its influence was phenomenal. 204 nations, more than 10,000 athletes participated in 302 events in 28 sports, 41 disciplines. Now, how many people were influenced by this sport event? A cumulated audience of 3.8 billion people watched the games, and 1.82 million tickets were sold, and a further 1.62 million tickets were provided to children, education, and community groups. Japan is one of the major countries of the historical Silk Roads. Now, have you heard Japanese traditional music before? Have you heard Japanese modern jazz music, such as piano played by Miss Hiromi Uehara? Have you ever watched the beautiful ancient art of Japanese opera, kabuki? Well, do you know how significant cartoon drawing is in Japan? And the Japanese cartoons have influenced the Chinese people's lives during the past 50 years. So if you humble in China, if you hum, all Chinese people know that this Japanese cartoon, and it's just accompanying everybody's growing up. So, and do you know how advanced Japanese robotic technology is? You can experience all these elements during the opening ceremony of Tokyo Olympics that took place just a few days ago. Once again, the Olympics have brought a huge impact to the people of the world, opening their eyes to the enchanting Asian culture. It is a showcase of the most representative aspects of the Japanese culture, philosophy, history, tradition, and people's lifestyle, as well as the development of modern technology. It reflects who the Japanese peoples are and what they can bring to the world. And I am now physically in Croatia. Croatia is a strong country in sports. There are top athletes such as Martin and Valent Sinkovic in rowing. As a matter of fact, today they just won the gold medal in rowing. And Mateja Jelic and Toni Kanaet in taekwondo. And Croatia is very good at sailing, shooting, swimming, water polo, tennis, skiing, football, and basketball, and many other sports. By exchanging coaches and athletes, sport acts as a bridge connecting China and Croatia, helping people to learn from each other. While sitting in front of TV or computer screen, or simply holding a mobile phone, watching the sport events, it's not only entertaining, but also it's an opportunity to learn from each other. So for learning more about what's going on in China, their culture, science, and technology, and the lifestyle of the people, we're very much looking forward to the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, Zhangjiakou, Chongli, and Yanqing. And watching sports is fun, and playing sports can be very helpful for building a stronger body and mind. Facing the challenges of COVID-19, it is even more important for us all to participate in sports for maintaining good health and enhancing immune system. No matter it is recreational, such as walking, hiking, swimming, or competitive, such as football or marathon. Please remember, Pierre de Coubertin, founder of modern Olympic Games, said, "Sport is peace. The most important is not victory, it is participation." Thank you. I give the floor back to Harvey. All right.
They're sorry. It's probably the best thing for me. Thank you very much, Rita. It was very interesting. A lot of fact figures. So within a minute or two, how do you believe that sports contributes to people-to-people connectivity and to soft power of the country who's engaged in it?
Well, to answer your question, we need to write a whole book because it traces back from the ancient time in Greece all the way to today's life. I think no matter.
Oops. Seems Rita has dropped out.
We'll bring her back. So okay. Should we go over to Don? And then we'll bring Rita back. Can we send Rita a message? Oh, she may not see it.
Don, are you still there?
Yes, I am, Philip and Harvey, and very happy to have the baton passed right along, the Olympic metaphor there. In any case, yes, our next distinguished speaker is Mr. Umut Özdemir, a renowned expert with the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism, formerly also with UNESCO, and Umut specializes on the Silk Roads, both past and present. The title of his talk today is The Ancient Silk Road, Connecting People and Cultures. Umut, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Don. Philip, I'm going on. By the way, Rita has returned. So should I go on?
Simply continue. Yes, please.
We'll come back.
Okay, I'm continuing. Thank you very much for your kind invitation for this very special event. I'm very happy to be with you, with distinguished experts about the Silk Road in terms of different ways. Let me introduce myself. As Don mentioned, I'm working as the expert at the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in Turkey. And actually, I'm working as an expert for the historical routes, especially regarding the Silk Road. And I have a presentation now. I hope you can hear me very well. Okay, no problem, right? Okay, good.
Perfect.
Okay, let me share screen here. I have a presentation. Okay. Does it work?
Yeah, we can see the screen, but we can see it still, yes.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
in my presentation, okay. Very briefly, I'm going to mention about the importance of the Silk Road, history of Anatolia in terms of Silk Road, and recent developments related to the Silk Road. Firstly, when we talk about the Great Silk Road, it is a combination of vast trade networks of the Silk Roads all over the known world during the age. Besides the merchandise and precious commodities, the Great Silk Road was the main element of transmission of knowledge, ideas, cultures, and beliefs, which had a profound impact on the history of and civilizations of the Eurasian peoples. This combination of routes represents one of the world's preeminent long-distance communication networks as well. Travelers along the Silk Roads were attracted not only by trade, but also by the intellectual and cultural exchange taking place in cities along the Silk Roads. Science, arts, and literature, as well as crafts and technologies, were thus shared and disseminated into societies along the length of these routes. And in this way, language, religions, and cultures developed and influenced one another. It is possible to find marks from Marco Polo to Genghis Khan and the Sufi poet Rumi on the Silk Road. Silk is an example of the products that expanded along the Silk Road, and the loom is an example of the technologies that spread and colonized the regions through which it ran, although by no means the most important. The glass and leather industries and Western weapons and war machines traveled from the West to the introduced in the Far East. The West benefited from 4 inventions from China that were to shape the new world and its new order as well. Paper and its manufacture, printing techniques, gunpowder, and the compass. Knowledge about the silk production was very valuable, and despite the efforts of the Chinese Empire to keep it very closely guarded as a secret, it did eventually spread beyond China, first to India and to Japan, then the Persian Empire, and finally to the West in the 6th century AD. According to legend, 2 monks hid silkworm eggs inside a bamboo pole to smuggle them out of China, and then presented the eggs to Byzantine Emperor Justinian I in Constantinople, where he created a thriving silk industry. I would like to focus on the importance of the Anatolian Peninsula on the Silk Road. In terms of geographical location, Anatolian Peninsula, the region where Turkey takes place today, is located between Europe, Asia, and Africa continents. Therefore, highways and sea lanes connecting cited continents must be somehow linked with Anatolia. During the Assyrian colony period, traveling long distances by donkey caravan and often living separately from their families, these merchants traded vast quantities of tin and textiles for gold and silver, in addition to controlling the copper mine trade within Anatolia itself. Although the merchants adopted many aspects of local Anatolian life, they brought with them Mesopotamian tools used to record transactions, cuneiform writing, clay tablets, and envelopes, and cylinder seals. Since ancient times, Anatolia has been the area of influence and struggle of great empires. These roads, which started to take shape in Anatolia from the First Age, converged in the capital Hattusha during the Hittite period, one of the greatest civilizations that ruled in Anatolia. Persian Royal Road, ancient road running from Susa, the ancient capital of Persia, across Anatolia to the Aegean Sea. A distance of more than 1,500 miles. Normal travel time was about 3 months. And Alexander the Great made use of this royal road in his invasion to conquest of the Persian Empire. you can see the Alexander the Great's empire. And in his route, he stretched his small state Macedon across 3 continents, from Greece and Albania in the west to Egypt in the south and India to the east, covering around 2 million square miles of territory. During the Roman Empire, Anatolia was the biggest province, named Thema Anatolikon. Romans named the Mediterranean as Mare Nostrum in Latin. That means our sea. In the island of Kirk, it's possible to find Roman Empire traces that lead us to the end of Antique period. The Furfinium, together with the Curicum, which was the second most important island settlement, which were the most probably erected during Roman times. The island of Kirk was crucial with its geographical location. Actually, Anatolia is neither fully a source provider nor fully consumer in the strait between east and west. In this general road network, the Anatolian Peninsula is the last point of caravans coming from the east, can go by road, and is also a road-sea integration area. The Anatolian Seljuk states had a road system concentrated mainly in the inner, around especially capital Konya. You can see here, Konya was the capital, and it was the center. And the eastern parts of Anatolia. These roads were opened to the outside through various ports such as Sinop, Trabzon, Alanya, Millet, Ephesus, Gallipoli, Istanbul later. These maritime Silk Roads were reaching the important European ports such as Venice, Genoa, and Valencia. Kirk Island is a significant stop to Venice direction here. In the Middle Ages, the Seljuks also provided great convenience to the foreign merchants who came to Anatolia, and they established a kind of state insurance by compensating the damage of merchants who were damaged in any way, robbed, and whose goods were sunk in the sea from the state treasury. Thanks to this insurance system, Seljuks generated an income from the Silk Road commerce, and this income was much more bigger than the European states at that time. Chinese President Xi announced the initiative during official visits to Kazakhstan and Indonesia in 2013. The plan was two-pronged: the overland Silk Road economic belt and the maritime Silk Road. The two were collectively referred to first as the One Belt, One Road initiative, but eventually became the Belt and Roads initiative. Measured in today's dollars, it has already cost more than the United States Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe after Second World War. This vision included creating a vast networks of railways, energy pipelines, highways, and streamlined border crossing both westward through the mountainous former Soviet republics and southward to Pakistan, India, and the rest of Southeast Asia. To accommodate expanding maritime trade traffic, China would invest in port development along the Indian Ocean from Southeast Asia all the way to Africa and parts of Europe. Morgan Stanley has predicted China's overall expenses over the life of the Belt Road Initiative could reach $1.3 trillion by 2027. So estimates on total investments vary. The key objective of the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway project that launched in 2017 is to improve trade and economic relations between three regions, as well as gaining foreign direct investments by connecting Europe and Asia. The project will facilitate transportation of passengers and goods principally oil. And finally, I would like to mention about the UNESCO project. UNESCO launched the Silk Road program in 1988 to better understand the rich history and shared legacy of the historic Silk Road and the ways in which cultures have mutually influenced each other. On the other hand, Shangan-Tianshan corridor inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2014. And this corridor consists of Silk Road settlements from China. You can see in the blue point inscribed on the list now, these settlements from China, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. And all process for the inscription for the UNESCO World Heritage List was supported by China mainly. Silk Road is still an essential instrument for intercultural dialogue and information exchange in our modern age, even virtually. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Well, thank you very much, Umut, for really a compelling and beautiful historical presentation of the ancient Silk Road, and indeed some of the modern continuations or reinterpretations of the Silk Road. I have a question for you, and a short, brief question. I mean, you've been talking about largely the ancient Silk Road, but by way of comparison, what do you see as a few of the defining or major differences between the ancient and modern Silk Roads, including under the modern Silk Roads, China's BRI and the recent G7 B3W initiative?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, actually, there are some big differences between ancient times and modern day in regarding the Silk Road, and also some similarities as well. Maybe we can mention about the biggest difference is today the world is much more globally, like just only one country, and all people and all cultures and all continents are much more near, we can say, and communication, and we use the technologies. Everything is much more faster than the past. Yeah, as you mentioned today, against how can I say, the China and how can I say, competing with China in terms of the trading, other countries trying to make new alliances, such as you mentioned, the B3W, Build Back Better World partnership, and G7 leaders tried to this initiative. It's in the global scope from Latin America, and Indo-Pacific countries are supporting in this initiative. But at the same time, China, in this One Belt, One Road initiative within this project, they are supporting in the road projects and the highways, etc., in Pakistan and other countries. And this is similarity in the antique period, or not antique, but in the past, we can say, like Anatolian Seljuks giving the insurance for the merchants who traveled in Anatolia, for example. It's similar. And like according to the legend, which I mentioned in my presentation, 2 monks visited China and they brought the cocoon eggs to the Byzantine because they want to produce themselves instead of China. They want to make a producer. So this is like trade wars like today. So I hope it will be clarified.
Well, thank you very much for that insightful explanation. I mean, there's so much more we could discuss about this. I mean, one of the points I would simply make is that I think a difference, I may be wrong, but I think one of the differences between the ancient and modern Silk Roads is, particularly those in China and also in Europe, is a much greater emphasis on the state and the role of the state in projects and what have you, whereas certainly this was not present in earlier and indeed ancient times. It was very much the initiative of merchants. But in any case, thank you so much, Wilmot, for your great insights and presentation. I think we're now moving back over to Rita and Harvey for their exchange, which was interrupted. So back to you, Rita and Harvey.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah, Rita, please continue. You know, it's the 21st century, but we still have these technical difficulties. What can we do?
Well, only challenges can make us better. To answer your question, I think you have already mentioned the word soft power. Yes, indeed, sport is a soft power. Therefore, it connects people in a subtle way. It helps people to get to know each other first, and then learn from each other, and then to cooperate with each other. And through computation, they can improve themselves. So I think that is why usually before hiring a CEO, the board director, chairman of the board might invite the candidate to play golf, tennis, or simply a hiking trip, so that they could get to know each other more. I want to share with you a very interesting story. In 2008 and 2009, when Professor Simonic worked in Beijing as Croatian ambassador, I was working as a honorary principal of Beijing School of Deaf. I have 250 deaf students, and of course, I think most of them have never heard about the country Croatia. Nobody could speak a word of Croatian, but I invited Ambassador Simonic and his diplomats to have a soccer match with my teachers and students. And that sport match was such a success that many teachers and students got curious about Croatia. They realized how good Croatian sports are, soccer especially, and they get to know about the geography, history, and even the language. They kept on saying to the diplomats and Professor Simonic, "Hvala, hvala lijepa." Until nowadays, many of them have gone to colleges and graduated and working, and they sent me emails during the World Cup and European football match saying we wish all the best to Croatian teams. So this is an example that what sport can do to connect people.
Thank you very much, Rita. And we'll continue this discussion in the group in a little while. So Don, back over to you.
Thank you, Harvey. Our final speaker today is Jan Moritz Onken, a renowned German conductor. He's also the founder of the Silk Road Cultural Belt, founder and artistic director of the Kallias Foundation, and artistic and musical director of the Silk Road Symphony Orchestra in Berlin. It's a great pleasure and honor to have Moritz with us today. The title of his talk is The Silk Road Cultural Belt, an artistic and musical perspective on the term New Silk Road. So it's going to be fascinating to hear from him. Moritz, the floor is now yours.
Thank you very much, Prof. Donald Lewis. Congratulations, Philip, for your progressive idea first, Silk Road 4.0. And I'm happy to be here today, and thank you for your kind invitation to share a few ideas with you today. My goal for this intervention is to lead your attention to some of the formulations which express the necessities and intentions which we identified within the given subject area. Classical music. Feel free to transmit these basic principles into your respective field of expertise, your terms of progress and in progress, with the focus of practical development for a term like New Silk Road. Now, may I invite you to join me on a little journey within this journey? Please, each of you, take a piece of paper. If you have like close to you, next to you, just a piece of paper and a pen, if possible. And just write your thoughts on this piece of paper without any judging. They are exceptionally your own and for you. Questions are very welcomed, and thank you in advance. Can you see my screen?
No, I don't think so.
No, not yet.
We can only see you.
Okay, 1 second. I need to Desktop 1, Bildschirm freigeben. Just 1 second.
Typically, it's a green button at the bottom, and then you have to select which screen or which application.
Yes, I have to quickly leave the meeting. I will be back just in a second.
So that's a funny thing about speaking about the history, because the history meets the future. And as we can see, these are the tiny little challenges when the history meets past, meets the future. Yeah, that's something that I experienced quite several times when I was traveling along the Silk Road with a high-tech motorcycle. Funny enough, the most difficulties I had when traveling the Silk Road was not the high-tech, but it was actually, I had a high-tech motorcycle and there was no luggage rack available. So I was not able to put the boxes onto my motorcycle. So it was a very low-tech problem that I had when traveling in 2018. It was quite surprising that with such a high-tech motorcycle, I was facing these challenges. So I totally understand Moritz issues. By the way, Rita, you have a very beautiful background. I can see your Chinese feed.
Here I am. Now it
Thank
should
you.
work. Now it should work.
Bravo.
Oh yeah, now we see it. It's
You can see it?
yes, it's not
Great.
full screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, now it is.
It's without comment.
It's a little bit small. Maybe you can read the text. Are you muted, Moritz?
No,
Or
no, I'm here.
purpose? Sorry. Lovely. I really like this this interactive or this self-creating project. We don't hear any music.
Okay. Yeah, this is the music. You couldn't hear the music, the Mozart.
No, unfortunately, no.
Okay. Yeah, this was a one source of inspiration from Tübingen, the Klarinetten Quintet from Mozart. Yeah, this is actually my few words in this context of this large, huge topic, which is called Silk Road. I would like to leave it here. I mean, a very few words to the picture you are seeing here. This is at the Berlin Global Forum in 2016 and 17. This was a concert at the radio in Berlin, where we included one of these sources of inspiration in one of the concerts we were playing. This was a concert at the Neues Museum. So I would like to actually leave my intervention with this, because this is, for the moment, all I have to say, and would actually like to pass the ball or the question to you. What maybe you had some ideas which arrived on your paper. They're yours. I don't want to, like to force you to share some questions which might maybe arrived. But of course, this is really the most interesting part for me, to be honest.
Maybe we can, look at the answers on each other's pieces of paper at some future point in time, Moritz. We will be moving on to a panel discussion. Perhaps people want to disclose what's on their pieces of paper then. But you and I have had a very, very insightful set of correspondence on what you are doing with the Silk Road cultural belt. I mean, I find it absolutely fascinating. We got some idea from your slides, but of course, there's a lot more to discussion. I think it will have major cultural impacts between Europe and the East and the South in the future. But I have a question for you, and that is, and it's related to the discussions we've had offline, as it were, just to put people perhaps better into the picture. You apparently are seeking to break cultural stereotypes concerning the meanings of the Silk Road and classical music, especially those that are Eurocentric or Sinocentric. So my question to you is, what do you as an individual, and that's your stress here, that each person should be creating their own silk or their own Silk Road music or expression. What do you as an individual perceive to be the hidden meanings and untapped creativity of these terms that can ultimately be unleashed to create not an old Silk Road, but, as you put it, a new Silk Road, including new forms of music? And as a follow to that, up to that, do you foresee a contrapuntal response to your musical interpretations from East and South Asia? Moritz?
I think first, I think there is great news that the digital tools which have been developed in the last 20 years, also thanks to a certain consciousness and thanks to freedom of word and thanks to certain freedoms, innovation and a very concrete possibility to reach out, thanks to the internet, to so many people around the world. And I'm just fascinated by the many opportunities digital media can bring as an instrument, as a tool to develop the relationship between, for example, in our subject, between people for whom classical music is an important part of life. So to be very specific and to play with the cliche on one side, because it's, I mean, such a global term, as we have seen in all the presentations, and we know all from traveling and from our own work and life. I mean, there are so many angles and perspectives on this huge term that we need to be very specific, and we need to be very open at the same time, as I believe. And I just see that there is still the danger of instrumentalizing and monopolizing the narrative or the reading and the interpretation of such a term in state interests. And I just want to make sure, or give my piece of silk, as we call it, to ensure that the individual is encouraged and empowered to develop his and her very personal and individual meaning around the necessities of such a, I mean, of such a frame. I mean, it's such a huge responsibility. And that's why we actually focus also on a central position, which we call responsible listening or responsible listeners, because I believe that this might be an open approach to really learn from each other, but also to understand that we have some ethical responsibility. We must look at some compatibility. And that's why we proposed and why we work for a Silk Road cultural belt as a narrative, as a European perspective. And we are open to, I mean, to every reading which maintains certain basic principles and basic human qualities.
Well, thank you very, very much for that, Moritz. And I mean, there's so much to ponder there, and for us to consider in terms of our own individual understandings and expressions regarding the Silk Road, but also in terms of what you will be doing in terms of bringing this all together and translating it into music. I mean, this is an immense and you know, profound undertaking, and we wish you all the best in that. We're now going to move on to our panel discussion, which includes all of our distinguished speakers, except Patrick Fritz, and of course, Harvey Zoden and myself as co-moderators. I'm posing the first question, and then it's over to Harvey in light of our very short time. My question for each of you, in your opinion, what is the single most important factor which can contribute to deeper P2P connectivity, person-to-person connectivity between the EU and China, and or Croatia and China? Perhaps we can start with, hold on. Perhaps we can start with, let's see, well, maybe Rita. You're muted, Rita.
Thank you, Don. Well, thank you for asking this question. I think it's a profound question. And throughout the years, we have been thinking about the most efficient and the most easy to accept way to connect people between the West and the East. You see this calligraphy behind me. It reminds me every day the philosophy of China by Lao Tzu. This is the quotations from Dao De Jing, and the first line, it says, the superb power is like water that benefits all beings, but competes for nothing, meaning the glory, the power, and all that. So I think the most important thing is to let people know each other about our values. You see, this international marriage that I have with Professor Simonic, it's very precious. I think it's a great opportunity for me, for my soul, to experience the richness, not only as a person that's born in Beijing, China, but also so very much deeply rooted now in the European culture, the culture that is recorded in textbooks here in Croatia, in Croatian language, and their ancient language trace back to a few hundred years ago. So the way that people must understand each other is the core value, and how to understand each other. I think it's important that we put down all the barriers, and just like water, we embrace each other like the streams that flows from the mountaintop toward the sea. Our goal is the sea, is the ocean, and no matter from which direction, we come together to that one spot, and we open ourselves like the music, without language, without occupation of our own understanding and education from our family background, but purely, sincerely open up to other people and say, well, I respect you, I accept you, I know that you're quite different from me, but I'm willing to get to know more about you. That's just my thought.
Brilliant.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
Brilliant, Rita. Thank you so much. Very eloquent, and much that could be said there. Others that would like to express their views on how to achieve deeper P2P connectivity between Europe and China.
Maybe he has a question from Slido.
Yes.
So that's maybe one last question from Slido and the colleagues who were watching on YouTube. I mean, I really like the idea of silk as a connecting element. I just wanted to comment on this presentation from Moritz. But I don't know, Imi, do you have any questions? Is there anything?
Oh, there are no questions on Slido. I think we were all so rapt listening to our listeners that nobody thought of posting anything. Especially the quote from Rita is just like so breathtaking, and also Moritz's presentation and intervention was so touching, and like on this base of this cultural background from Umut, I think it was so round. I didn't see a question, and I wouldn't have one, no.
I saw some message coming up from Roberta. Unfortunately, we're now using the mobile phone as my computer's battery died due to the heat. That's one of the big lessons learned, just as a technical background. Because of the heat, the ventilator was spinning over time, and it was sucking the battery. It was amazing. I think we lost from 100% within 45 minutes to 0%. It was quite unexpected, to be honest. When we tested the setup in the air-conditioned environment, it ran for I think 2.5 hours without any issues. Lessons learned. Okay, so taking consideration the 2 degrees here in the Croatian coast, that's a big lesson for me personally.
We do have someone, I should interject,
Yep.
we do have a Slido question apparently. From someone actually on the island of Kirk right now who is experiencing the same heat as you. And this is Renata Godak, who knows Dr. Mia Mikic, who helped organize the event, and just expressed the view that this was very interesting because of Renak Godek's participation or working actually in China for a number of years. I think it was really more the expression of a view rather than a question.
Lovely.
Nice, very nice. Moritz, did Moritz want to?
Moritz, yes.
Moritz, do you want to comment on?
I mean, it's. I think it's very important to find like really ground under the feet, because the danger or the challenge in this huge topic, I see also people-to-people connectivity, like the EU Asia connectivity strategy and all these strategies. I mean, they are all well meant and they have great motives behind. But there is, of course, if you take a term like Silk Road, it's not only a big symbol, but it's also a sign. It's very symbolical. It's very, I mean, it has for many people a very strong symbolical meaning. And I'm very much on what I experience is that we cannot all get lost in imagination, which is necessary in any artistic work and musical reality. I mean, it's all about imagination, but also there is reality. And the more we remember that, I mean, we got used to this kind of virtual events, and symbolically you are on my screen, and symbolically we can hear each other, and symbolically we could go to the sea, and maybe even symbolically go swimming. But the reality of, in the end, an orchestra has a live a sound, and there is an audience when there is an interaction between an orchestra and a listener. And this is, for me, very much has a lot to do with the Silk Road, because you have to walk a road together. You have to, there is some reality. And as long as we play with these symbols and don't find the real ground and meeting and the real connection in reality on a stage or in a hall or in, then it might be like a game which is always dangerous, I find.
Thank you. I can say something.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation today, and I'm reminded of something that Lao Tzu said thousands of years ago, and that is that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I think we've all taken a single step forward today in terms of international understanding and starting a very good dialogue that will leave us thinking for a long time to come. So from my perspective, I want to thank all the participants for their thought-provoking ideas.
No, it was just such a perfect closing statement. Actually, I don't want to add anything, because I think that's the mission is everything starts with one first step. And I really would like to leave it with that statement and all these very insightful, inspirational talks today. I really want to thank all the speakers for the efforts of joining in, trying out, leaving our own comfort zone, giving us some thoughts about, leaving the areas that we know into something new, something unexpected. Of course, some errors happen, mistakes happen. So technical issues, that was quite a pain, and we know what. But anyway, I really enjoyed this evening. It was very insightful. So thanks again. Thanks very much to speakers. Thank you very much for the moderators for taking times and the efforts. And I just want to mention, exactly in 4 weeks' time, we're traveling from Croatia, this time to Budapest. Our topic then is connectivity, logistics and connectivity and transport with a focus on rail. So stay tuned. Please join us on August 26th in Budapest. And if you want to join us, same time, same station, but in 4 weeks' time. And without further ado, I want to thank all the people who made this possible. In particular, also our co-host Kosjenka, who's sitting here with us. And just at the last view, I want to share with you that we had for the last hours. This is where we are with this beautiful sunset coming in. So you can see here the old city of Omišalje that Umut kindly mentioned. And with that, I wish all of you a pleasant evening and hopefully see you again in 4 weeks' time. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Harvey.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Hvala lijepa. All the best.
Bye bye.
Hvala, bye bye.
Hvala.
Bye.
Hvala.